Hello and welcome to the Studio Demands It, an exercise in creative thinking where we will conceptualize, pitch, and craft a film or series based on the demands or stipulations from one of you listeners acting as a hypothetical Hollywood overlord.
Overlord!
You left me hanging there for a second.
I want to mix it. I don't want to get predictable. I don't want to do the same thing every time.
I want people to get so familiar with the intro that they say it along with us.
Okay. Overlord!
There you go. As professional screenwriters ourselves and massive cinephiles, we talk movies all the time.
All the time.
And we'd like to believe ourselves capable of meeting any demand thrown at us. We will be your screenwriters for this episode. I'm TC Witt, and joining me, as always, is Jim Caterwall Burzelic.
Caterwall!
What does caterwall mean, Jim?
Make screeching or crying noise.
Oh, okay.
So cats, caterwall.
Yeah.
Like,
Enough of the caterwall, Jim.
Like that.
You used it so openly and freely before, and then did you have to look up the definition?
I intuit what a lot of words. I know a lot of words, but I don't necessarily know how to explain what they mean.
Well, if people come to our show to expand their vocabulary, so what is intuit?
Like,
you use your intuition.
Yeah,
you intuitively
use the word in the definition.
You intuitively define words just by hearing them.
Is to know something instinctively, instinctually.
Ah, I see. What does instinctually mean?
What instinct means?
This is what the fans want, Jim. They come here to expand their vocabulary. How many times did I say?
That's why we're called. The studio demands a bigger vocabulary.
All this cattywampus is just noise to them. If you don't give them good...
What's cattywampus mean?
It's just a
you
lot
looked it up. You looked it up specifically to use it. You're a cheater.
I
saw your eyes look down at your computer and not in the monitoring the levels or time we've spent type way.
Oh no, my computer's failing me. Cattywampus is just like... It's just Walla Walla. You're being a real Gardy-Loo. You're the one with the vocabulary here. I'm just throwing words at you, and you can intuit.
I do. I know what you mean when you say them.
Wittershins.
Like the word trapes. We know what the word trapes means, but if you ask me to define it, I'm gonna have to sit here and then kind of fumble through a definition
with cattywampus.
With cattywampus.
Yeah, to figure out what's the word? Trapes. Oh, trapes.
Yeah.
I mean, I do know what the word trapes is.
Yeah. So tell me what it means.
I don't think I could define it.
See?
You're kind of like, la, 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 la.
I want a book to say that.
Define this word.
Where you're kind of like la, 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 la.
How did they get the font to do that? That's so strange.
How do I know that his arms were
flailing
about akimbo?
Ooh, another word.
Yeah.
Is a podcast of words. Isn't all language, Jim, just a collection of words?
Yes.
Bumfuzzle.
Oh, that got real close to being another word.
You're just off by two words there.
Yeah.
two letters there.
Yeah.
I just actually Googled the weirdest words in the English dictionary.
Dictionary.
My God.
And I realized the version of this show, it wouldn't be called The Studio Demands a Bigger Vocabulary, although that's fun just to say. It would be The Vocabulary Demands It.
The vocabulary demands it, yes.
Oh, so there's an alternate universe where the show audience members write in demanding a word to define a thing.
Do an entire episode.
We spend an hour talking about what that word will be.
Just do an entire...
That's so stupid. I want to do it.
NPR would sponsor this. This is do an entire episode on Wittershins. I feel like you've used that word.
Yeah, it means counterclockwise.
It does mean literally reading it.
Anti-clockwise.
Oh, anti-clockwise.
That's the British way of saying counterclockwise.
Collywobbles is another. That's a British term. I've heard that on. Oh, that's.
I don't know if I've heard that one.
Arthur calls Molly Wobbles in the Harry Potter books.
Actually, I just realized that this little opening.
Yeah.
Actually, it doesn't directly actually relate, but it kind of feels It has the right vibe going into what the episode's actually
It
going to be
does.
about.
You're right. You're right. Well, if there are people listening right now, someone that just is afraid of learning new words, or they're actually literally afraid of running out of words to describe things, you are a bibliophobiac.
Bibliophobe.
A bibliophobe.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was just another fun word I found.
Yeah.
I mean, I totally knew it. Bumbershoot.
You can make words. I've never heard of a fear of trees, but
Mhm.
it would be dendrophobia.
I'm sure that's a thing. You didn't make that up.
I'm sure I did.
No. There's no way to prove it.
None.
Bumbershoots.
That sounds dirty.
Flibbergibbet.
Mostly because of the bum part.
What are we doing? Let's just get into today's demand. What do you say? You're right, though. This is kind of like coinciding, and people can see the name of the episode.
Yeah.
We haven't joked about this a long time, but I do still like to believe there are people who just randomly select an episode to listen to and don't know the topic of said episode,
Mhm.
and they're not going to look. Don't look now.
Don't
Don't
no.
look now. You've come into this as some sort of podcast roulette, and while you may think you're hearing a podcast about silly words, you are. But okay, so Jim, let's get our listeners have given us demands from studios literally all over the world, and you listening right now can send us any demand you like. For example, don't do this shtick again. We'll meet that demand.
Yep.
Best we're able to.
Oh, they demanded it.
They
so.
demand it. We'll meet it right here on the spot. And when we reach the end of the episode, if we've done our jobs, we will have pitched a full script and story meeting or even exceeding those demands. And when the end of the season comes, this demand could very well end up being greenlit by our fans for the finale. So thank you to everyone who keeps submitting. Please keep them coming. Today's demand comes from Kev Amir from Global Studios, aptly named.
Mhm.
Okay, here we go. Reading this for the first time. Here we go. It's a long one. Disney is always doing the smart thing and just remaking their most popular IP. True. They know they can cash in on the popularity of something people already love. But what if they decided to stop being lazy? But if they stop being lazy prats, okay, you must be from not America, and try taking, not that that's a bad thing, lazy prats, and taking something good and remaking it into something great. The studio demands that you take Bedknobs and Broomsticks and make a new one. I always thought the original was just okay. An apprentice witch, 3 kids, and a cynical magician con man search for the missing component to a magical spell to be used in the defense of Britain in World War II. Good synopsis. It really tried to be as good as Mary Poppins, and I know it's based on a book, but it clearly is not as beloved, so have at it. Take the concepts of the original and reimagine them for a new version. It doesn't have to be in World War II, and it probably shouldn't be. Set it in the 60s or the 80s. You decide. Keep the witch adopting children angle and find a new adventure this odd family can partake in. Must have a cartoon sequence, and it must have a similar final battle as the original. Cast a well-known for Mrs. Price and Professor Brown. Thanks for taking my demand. Thank you, Kev Amir at Global Studios. We accept the challenge, Jim. The studio demands Bedknobs and Broomsticks. How do you feel about that?
Let's do it.
Let's do this. Okay. So, in preparation for this, with our little preparation, we knew the demand was going to be Bedknobs and Broomsticks. Now we know what the full demand is. It's a remake or reimagining.
Yeah.
So not a remake.
Well, no, a remake.
Okay, but he did say
Remake sometimes reimagined.
to not put it. Probably shouldn't put it.
The
in World War
Manchurian
II.
Candidate was a remake, and it was a reimagining.
Yes. The Thing was a remake and a reimagining.
Yeah.
There you go. So the thing that strikes me here is that while it's basically we're being asked to maintain the general concept, but move it to a different era.
If we want.
If we want. It says, it does say it probably shouldn't be, but it's up to us. That suggests that you think we should leave it in World War II?
Well, the first reason is that notion of taking orphans and assigning them to any adult willing to take them.
It's World War II only.
I don't think that really existed in any other period.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, oh man, I almost am mad at myself for even suggesting such a thing. But couldn't it be possible to set it during like a Western era, that like a frontier era where some children might have been lost their parents on the trail and then be handed off to?
So you want to make it even older?
No, yeah, like I'm just saying, you suggesting we can't find a way for a woman to have to adopt 3 children. I'm saying like, well, if we need to force a witch to have 3 kids,
Yeah.
the frontier era could do it. The colonial era could do it.
Sure.
That's if we want to go there.
What's well the thing in the story as is, a number of things work well together. You do the colonial era, you do any sort of a colonial thing, right? India, Australia, the Americas.
Mm-hmm.
They all have very particular things going on with them, and trying to adapt magic to help the British cause.
Oh yeah.
In anything other than fighting the Nazis, starts to get a little questionable.
A whole lot of imperialism.
Yeah.
I see what your point. I take your point. That would suggest yes. Correct. Okay. Fair. But my concern in keeping it in World War II is then we're just going to replicate the original.
Yeah.
Well then, okay. End of episode. Come on.
Well, no, we get to cast it.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Probably Sebastian Stan for Professor Brown.
Oh, what an interesting choice.
Do you want to start there with like imagining some people who could take on the witch? So when they redid Mary Poppins Returns, they had Emily Blunt and Lin-Manuel taking on the Julie Andrews and Dick Van Dyke.
Well, so one of the things is I'm very American, and I have a very American education. So I only know the wars that the British were involved in, that the Americans were also involved in.
Okay.
So I don't know enough events from British history to pull from to try to find another era, another period, to move this to.
Well, it's interesting
now,
that
I mean, we can always come up with something other than trying to use magic to help the British Empire. We could
Right.
find something else.
the witch adopting children and trying to and teaming up with a con man to assist in a war. Now they suggested the 60s and the 80s, like set in the 60s, set in the 80s, your choice. The 60s would be like the Vietnam era. The 80s would be
Thatcher era.
the
Margaret Thatcher
era.
There was the austerity era. A lot of people didn't like her for that. Because tightening belt sucks.
That I suppose that gives us our first challenge here of if it's a witch, like it has to have an element like helping defeat the Nazis. What's the equivalent of that? That you're right, that doesn't delve into imperialism. This is a nice curveball I hadn't expected because not that I tried to come up with any like preconceived notions when coming to our quote unquote pitch here. I did assume it was going to be something like reimagine it but keep it in the era, or do an origin story of Englentine or Mr.
Sure.
Or
Well, that's the whole time we were watching the movie, because we watched the movie in preparation. The thing we did is we kept connecting it to Harry Potter.
Oh my God, this is genius! I honestly, if there's ever a reason to toss that couple bucks towards our Patreon to listen to the commentary track, Jim had this absolutely inspired idea of that Englentine Price, that Miss Price is just she got a hold of a textbook from Hogwarts and essentially is like performing magic.
Yeah, basically teaching herself. She was essentially Muggle-born.
Yeah.
She's a Muggle-born wizard, witch, who is now learning magic through correspondence and trying to learn it. But the thing is, it fits in very nicely into the disappointing, I'll just say disappointing, Fantastic Beasts trilogy. Like, this actually could be a 4th movie in that, right? Because it's a build-up to World War II.
Right.
So this takes place then. This could be a story,
what we craft here.
No,
The actual Bedknobs
technically, yes, that wasn't our demand to boost J.K. Rowling's career.
We will not be doing that today.
We already did that with
Lily Potter.
Lily
yeah.
Potter.
We did it last season. But yeah, the conversation that I kept coming back to see in ways to be like, oh, this good kid. Oh, and this right here. Oh, and Professor Brown doesn't know that he's got a textbook. Oh, yeah. It was a lot of fun to imagine that way. But not the demand we have here.
No.
Is World War II the best option here? And if that's the case, like, what do we do different?
Better effects.
Okay, let's like
seriously,
okay.
When that bed travels, we
Yeah.
can do better than shifting the color palette.
Hey man, that's psychedelic stuff of the 70s. Woo-wee. All right, I'm going to throw something out here. Because actually Indiana Jones went this route. The Red Scare, the Cold War era, that the magic could be the
Fight the Russians.
Fight the Russians. Yeah, like that, or it could be the space race, that using magic to get to the moon before
we'll beat the Ruskies and the Americans.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
Perhaps that it is a space race wizard or witch story.
Sure.
But then it's the element of like how she and like fumble up into getting the kids. They could be.
And then ultimately the thing is, so what's the spell that they're trying to utilize, and what's that final spell that she can't find that they go on this adventure for?
They could go to Mars. They could go to the moon. Like the cartoon section of the movie could be, oh man, Hollow Earth even. Like it could be, where is the if the space race is to get to like colonize the moon or colonize Mars, like setting this in a space race era, and that instead of like they can't reach the moon. That every time they try to like launch to the moon, they can't get there. They haven't been able to figure out. So the way to get there and beat the Russians there to start a colony on the moon is we will teleport there through magic. And the cartoon segment could be dealing with aliens, like a moon section or a Mars section where they like
What's that sound?
It's how the aliens talk. That's the spell.
Ah,
I don't know. I'm throwing that out there as an option, that if we move it to the space race, or we could make see, this is where the Fantastic Beasts kind of like ruined where we could go if it was like chasing the bomb. If we go back to the atomic era, unfortunately, Fantastic Beasts played too much in that. I kind of want to avoid going there. That's why I want to move away from World War II.
That's why you agreed to moving it?
Yeah. Unprofessional. I'm sorry. Let me turn that down. Yeah, if it's a space race, then while all the science that's being used to try to get to the moon, to try to beat the Russians to space with Sputnik or whatnot, it's tech, and Miss Price here in our new Bedknobs Broomsticks is like, tech's not the answer, magic is the answer. We can magic our way, and you could use like visual throwbacks to like, you know, the classic black and white film where the rocket hits the moon in the eye. Like there's some visual callbacks that could be done.
So the thing is, the magic and the spell that they're after play into the finale, right? They animate all of the old artifacts, the knight's armor, all the weapons, and horse barding and all that stuff all comes to life to fight this small landing of Nazis. And the whole point is to save soldiers' lives by doing this on a large scale. So, and that's the climax of the whole movie. So if it's to find what's this spell supposed to be? Is it supposed to be like how do you imagine this climax working? Is it just they beat the Russians to the moon or to Mars, and as their ship comes by, they just look out the window and they just see our characters waving?
I'm a witch.
Or
okay, strike the space race. Let's go to launching bombs. That the climax of this is that Russia and America hit the button, the Bay of Pigs, like that. That's and then the finale is in the air, like stopping all the rockets from landing. I don't know. What do you think of that? Like that it's all building up to finding a peaceful resolution to the atomic, like the Cold War, and stopping the button, the 99 red balloons from going off, and the finale is the launch sequence has happened, and she's using old World War II prop planes to magic into the air and deflect the.
Visually that's way better than what I was thinking. I was thinking, so what the spell would be is it's not about animating inanimate objects, it's about giving them sentience and consciousnesses.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, earlier on, we get to see them animate something that they're like, oh, this is what it means to be a sofa. I don't know. And then like, at the end, the climax is they basically bring all the bombs to life, and all the bombs are like, oh, wait, we're supposed to destroy stuff? Nah, no thanks. We choose not to.
For some reason, I'm getting this weird flashback to Transformers: Dark of the Moon.
Really? Did that happen in that movie?
I just remember the Mountain Dew machine came to life.
Oh.
Because every time the Allspark got near technology.
Oh, no, that was the very first movie. And I loved that was the only thing in that movie I loved was the random tech that transformed in, like, the Mountain Dew machine. The Mountain Dew machine transforming into what would that caffeinator and shooting cans of soda at people. That was the best part of that movie.
So I'm gonna make this face.
That's fine. It doesn't have to be that. I'm just saying what you were proposing. That's where I started going and imagining that. Now, the problem with things like prop planes intercepting bombs, that means a bunch of nuclear bombs are exploding in the air.
Okay.
And the actual physics and logic. We could just say, oh, and they went off and nothing happened. We can ignore the actual science. But air detonations of nuclear bombs is actually how most of them are supposed to explode anyway, and is actually worse for everything.
the finale could take place at a launch site, and whatever magic they're using to animate things to create, like, is to stop the launch from even happening. So now it's the end of a James Bond.
They bring a bunch of armor with them, and they're like, "Go halberd,
go halberd,
go magic flying halberd."
Go,
and it just chops up a bunch of Russians.
Go trebuchet.
How family friendly?
It didn't say it couldn't be rated R.
Bedknobs and broomsticks.
Bedknobs and broomsticks kills.
More like
dead knobs.
Dead knobs and blood sticks.
More like dead knobs and blood sticks. Okay, I feel like we're stumbling through this.
So another era could be now. Do something now, and the problem is climate change. Let's embrace
do you remember when Bedknobs and Broomsticks went woke?
Yeah, that's what would happen, but it's an angle, and the reason it's a decent angle is because they go to the island of Kaboombu.
Naboombu.
Mm-hmm. Really? Mm-hmm. I thought it was Ka, because I kept thinking of
Island of Naboombu.
That episode of Futurama, and that terrible joke. That episode is basically based on.
Yeah, it's Naboombu.
It's Naboombu. Okay. Anyway,
climate change.
Yeah. So it's this island populated by animal people, or animals behaving like people.
Anthropomorphic animals. Yeah.
Well, we would need to decide if they have humanoid bodies or if they're just animals standing on two legs, or not even, like, go the full Narnia route and is like it's just a talking lion playing soccer.
If we got to do a cartoon section, I want to do traditional 2D Roger Rabbit style, like they did in Bedknobs and Broomsticks, and not Lion King or Jungle Book like we've gotten recently, where it's like CG animals.
I was thinking about that. I understand what you're saying. I feel like, I mean, I could be convinced of that. I don't mind having a cartoon section, but I don't think all of that stuff should be a cartoon.
that entire section. It says right here we should have a cartoon section.
A cartoon. There's plenty of ways we could incorporate cartoons.
Must have a cartoon sequence.
Yeah.
Okay. Just when the magic goes off, whatever. So
What?
the climate change is the thing. Climate change is the thing, and you're saying
that's the thing that what's her
Miss
name?
Price.
Miss Price
Yeah.
is an enigmatine.
Englentine.
Englentine. Angela Lansbury.
Yes.
That's what she's trying to fix.
Mm-hmm.
And the island basically allows us to. I don't know. It's pretty. I feel like it's pretty on the face. What we're wearing it on our sleeve was like, look, an island of animals where all the animals are getting along fine, and that's why I don't like people because they ruin stuff. So our characters show up and they're trying to like, hey, the humans are ruining stuff anyway. We need your help.
We need the
and
thing
all
that
like,
you have.
We sure don't like
doohickey.
humans, and and we get that whole sequence to get the doohickey, the MacGuffin.
Yeah. And then it does not train. So okay, let's take a moment here. We're setting the demand aside for a moment here, okay?
Okay.
Bedknobs and Broomsticks
Yes.
came out in 1971.
Okay.
We have been tasked with updating it and doing whatever we want with it. So
Yes.
don't worry about the demand right now. Coming in completely cold,
Mm-hmm.
do you have an idea of what you would do with Bedknobs and Broomsticks? I know we've literally been sitting here kind of like
Sure.
like brainstorming and whatnot. But I feel like we're kind of locking ourselves into. At least I've been forcing you to stay locked in to what the demand is.
Sure.
So let's throw that out. We're just asked to update Bedknobs and Broomsticks.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to do a sequel?
No.
Okay.
I would do a remake. I would set it in World War II.
Okay.
I would basically do I'd remake it. I'd do the movie over.
Mm-hmm.
I would do it with modern effects to be able to do the magic and a lot of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I probably wouldn't do a cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's it. Like you wouldn't. There's no like significant change you would make to this.
Dialogue. Probably not. Like, it's weird how, in my opinion, a lot of the things in that movie fit together, right? Orphans were orphaned like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like the last time that happened is because bombs fell on Britain.
They had to get rid of the kids.
Yeah.
Or like send the kids away so
yeah.
they'd be safe. Yeah.
I'm not saying we couldn't. We could probably find like there's still orphans, but just sort of that immediate demand and kind of immediate empathy and like, oh, these it's terrible.
Mm-hmm.
If only someone would help them, and then we can foist them on a witch.
Mm-hmm.
Right, like because the idea is there are that many that even though she didn't want this, it all kind of comes together there with those elements. In World War II, that is a very immediate thing that they would want to be addressing, as opposed to most other times where it's gonna there's. Maybe I'm forgetting something, but there's very few things that bring people together like an existential threat of another group of people trying to destroy all of you.
Okay, and I think I have something, and I don't know if if it's going to work, but I'm going to throw it out there to you.
Okay.
1861, 3 kids are sent north, just across the Mason-Dixon line, to live with a new family because they're from the South, middle of Civil War. And the witch that they end up living with is living on a plantation just north of the line that is at the risk of being encroached upon by the rebel Confederates of the South.
So I don't think the kids have to be from the South. They can be from the North. Many of those parents died as well.
Yeah.
So she's a Jayhawker.
Great.
That's the term for Union sympathizers that were on the Mason-Dixon line.
Yeah. That's a new word, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. I'm suggesting we Americanize this. I'm suggesting that we set it during the Civil War. And if you need something at the equivalent of an existential threat like Nazis, what about some rebel scum?
You're right. That would kind of work. I feel like a part of what makes Bedknobs and Broomsticks so much fun is the juxtaposition of magic to a more contemporary setting. That's why I was resistant to go back in time further than World War II.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
I could I could if that's really resonating with you.
I'm just trying to.
I'd be willing to
the
do that.
problem with just saying remake the original is that, well, what's
then,
our goal?
sure.
Like, what do we do here? Like, that is not enough. And you know what? If you just want to remake the original one, cool, greenlit. That's what we're doing. We'll just update the dialogue and shorten one of the songs. Cool, we've done it. Let's come up with another one. And my presentation to you is, if we need to find something of the equivalent of Nazis threatening a small island in the midst of a world war. We got World War I, we got the space race with the Ruskies and the Cold War, and we've got the Civil War. Those are the yes, 100%. We could go to any other country and pick any other major conflict. I'm not sitting here diminishing the import of anything in history, but in the fantastical nature of what needs to happen here, those are the ones that come to mind.
Sure.
And a Jayhawk, great term, of someone who is just on the border, who is protecting a small quote island, a small town, from encroaching rebel forces. That gives us having revolutionary soldier costumes reanimated to fight Civil War soldiers. You have your
You saying those things reminded me of a zombie movie I
Of
once
course
saw.
it did.
There's I forget what it was called. It was an Australian zombie movie, and I think it was, I forget what era. It was like I think it might have been something like Vietnam era zombies were raised from the dead to attack this town, and so then our protagonists did something that raised World War II zombies to fight them. And
so zombies versus zombies?
It might have been even the reverse. It might have been World War II zombies versus older zombies, like colonial zombies or something.
I don't suppose it's called Zombie Brigade or Rampant.
It might be.
Well, okay, so do you... I see the interest of wanting to, like, the old knights in shining armor technology versus the machine, the industrial iron sky era of World War II. I totally get that. And that honestly, as an homage, could be repeated if our witch has a museum. If the main property that our witch has is a world history museum, that might seem a bit too contrived to get us suits of armor and whatnot. But if she is,
I'm actually totally that actually I really like that allows us to actually move this almost wherever we want.
Okay, so if
I'm okay with that.
Well,
yeah.
I'm saying if it's during the Civil War era, she has a museum of stuff up to that point. So it would still be Confederates trying to attack the North, and a museum full of artifacts are then animated to then protect the borderline and stop the encroachment, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if that's not satisfying you enough, that if you do want to see machine guns versus knights in shining armor, I'm going to recommend this movie to you called Bedknobs and Broomsticks from 1971. Not being glib.
I found it. It was Zombie Brigade.
Zombie Brigade, all right.
1988 Australian zombie movie.
What do you? Okay, so a group of 3 kids are sent to their aunt's house, or their like great grand aunt, or like a distant relative, because their other relatives have been murdered in the midst of the Civil War. And
sure.
And we have our
setting. It could even just be like, because if they're so near the Mason-Dixon that battles are taking place, and their town, village, whichever, is imminently in danger, there's no reason that those kids couldn't even be from that town. So literally, she's the town witch. Like, literally, everyone is always like, she's off. We don't know about her. Or maybe they were orphans from back east further, and they've been sent west because of fighting.
The furthest western battle during the Civil War in 1862 was the Battle of Picacho Pass. It took place in Tucson, Arizona. 50 miles northwest of Tucson, Arizona. It was the furthest western battle in the Civil War.
Okay.
And it was so far off the map that it wasn't like, an extraordinary battle. It was just like the main Civil War took place very much in the South as we know it.
East and Midwest.
Yeah. So setting this far, far west, like basically at the outskirts of where the war was even taking place. Sort of like 1942 with the Steven Spielberg movie, where it's that small California town that's attacked by Japanese and Germans.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that I've just evoked that sort of shifted my head again.
Oh.
If you don't like the Civil War angle, World War II, but set it in America. So then put it on the Pacific coast. And oh my God, dude, I actually think I know where we can set this. I think I just thought of something. Did you know that Oregon was bombed 9 months after
wasn't
Pearl
it
Harbor?
by blimps?
It was a
plane.
They literally had to catapult off a submarine because it was so crappy and small. It went like 60 miles an hour.
Oh no, yeah, you're. Technically, I guess that does count as crappy and small, but it was an experimental type thing because literally they fit the plane in the sub. The entire sub carried the plane, and that's a huge feat.
Yeah, it was this Japanese bombing. It was in vengeance of America attacking Japan after Pearl Harbor, which
double vengeance.
Yeah, double vengeance. So this pilot Nobu Fujita was catapulted off the coast of Oregon.
Right off the top of your head like that.
I literally just found out about this. It was a great factoid of history. Sorry, tangent. I'm trying to learn a new fact every day, and this was my fact of the day
nice.
4 or 5 days ago. So he flew over Oregon in this crappy little duster and dropped a bomb in the middle of the forest. Their plan was that it would ignite it was a thermite bomb. It would ignite the forest and set it ablaze, and all the resources would have to be diverted to stopping the giant blaze in the forest. Well, what they forgot is it rains all the time in that part of the world, so the bomb went off. 2 forest rangers put it out in about an hour.
Oh.
This dude tried 3 more times to do this and failed, and then went home with disgrace. America found out about this. Decades later, they decided to celebrate the town. They decided as a joke, they're like, hey, what if we invited the guy who tried to bomb us? They invited this guy to America, and he thought, I'm going to accept this invitation if they're going to ridicule me and shame me. He's literally bringing his family's ancient samurai sword to ritualistically kill himself.
Oh man!
If this goes sideways, and he had that sword with him every battle he ever flew, every mission he ever went on. When he got there, they honored him. They celebrated him. They treated him. They literally gave him the key to the city. Him and his family got to stay with the mayor. They paraded him like they made him an honorary citizen. He felt so overwhelmed that he gave the sword. It's still on display. You can go see that sword. There's a plaque by where the bomb landed and did nothing. He even though his family was going out of business, paid for like a cultural exchange program so college students could come visit Japan. Wow. John F. Kennedy honored the city for like their willingness to show peace and kindness to this man, for like say, hey, that's the past. We're moving on, and he remained a friend of that city to the day he died.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That should just be that
could just be a
story
movie
in its own right. What you telling me this reminded me of is there actually was a Nazi landing in I think it's Virginia. It was on the East Coast during World War II, and it was just sort of like a small. It was more of a small. I don't know if it was a scouting party. I think it might have been meant to do more than that. But there was something like that, and I think they landed in Georgia or Virginia or something like that. And because I don't know any of the other details, we could fill those details in Also, that touches on, because the entire East Coast has a history of witches. Yeah, that it's mostly known for
north.
Salem and New England, but the colonies were all a part of it, and they all, I believe, the witch craze did go through all of the colonies. So putting it somewhere like in Virginia or something, and then you can bring all the Civil War stuff, which would be there, back to fight the Nazis once again, back onto their boats. To get out of here.
I think Americanizing this, using Virginia, or that you touch on the witches of yesteryear. We can set this in a museum of sorts that would allow us to have suits of armor and Native American warrior garb and weaponry, Civil War weaponry, World War I. Like that, it's a museum of war.
Sure.
And that these children, very much like the children were sent from into the country.
Yeah, America didn't have so much of the orphan thing happening.
They could be orphans if their mother had passed away when they were young and their father went to war. And now I believe they wouldn't have drafted him, which means he would have gone willingly and could say, "I'm leaving to go fight. I need you to go stay with my great aunt I haven't seen in my entire life."
Sure.
And then that gives us 3 children displaced from their home with a desire to want to return to home.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now we have our setting. We maintain the World War II angle. We can still have the finale of all these things animated. So that just means that the spell is still the substitutionary locomotion spell.
Yeah. Now we don't have to write a different song.
Yeah, but this is the remix. Is that still? Do you think that's still the plan, like the spell that our Miss Price character wants to have? Like she's studying magic to
trying to find a way to save lives in this war.
Yeah.
Did you not?
Well, I
mean, if you want to, we can create a new MacGuffin spell. I just think about how that spell essentially led to the kind of final set piece that was a nice long thing rather than just sort of one effect and then it was done.
Yeah. I do think the easy route, the quick route. Yeah, we just say that she's trying to find substitutionary locomotion. She still uses the bed knob on an old Victorian canopy bed that they use as their teleportation device to go find Mr.
Professor Brown.
Professor Brown, yeah. So let's maintain that her goal is the substitutionary locomotion spell.
To be a pedantic jerk, I turned the question you had for me back around on you. Like, okay, so aren't we done here?
No, I think I do think there's some more fun to be had.
Well, turns out you had an answer to that.
I did, yeah, because I literally my mind's going because now we get to recreate Professor Brown, making him a Portobello Road British con man, shyster who's just selling old magic tricks in England. We can move him to anywhere else in the world practically. So
you're saying keep him British, keep all that the same?
No, I'm saying if we're making Miss Price and the kids American, there's no reason to make Professor Brown British either. We could make him Australian. We could make him. He could be Texan. He could be from California. He could be from Hollywood, and all of his spells and tricks and everything are all movie making.
Flash in the pan.
Yeah, he is a World War II era Mysterio.
He's the guy who put the ads in comic books for
X-ray glasses and stuff. Yeah, yes, that sort of thing. Because then if
learn magic,
moving them to have to go to Hollywood, to go to Burbank in Hollywood and try to find Professor Emilius Brown, who is in fact a special effects stuntman.
Oh, yeah, that works. Right? No, I guess technically that's 20 years later.
Go on.
I was trying to make an occult connection, and it wasn't until the making of, or was that the making of the bomb? I thought it was going to space. Maybe it was the bomb.
Go on. I don't know.
Sorry, I'm just kind of talking to myself.
Jim's spiraling, everyone. Let's rein him in.
I think it might have been the bomb. There was an engineer, a lot of engineers actually, in the Pasadena area that had occult ties, like they did magical stuff.
There's two things I want to add to our movie here. So let's maintain the general plot and outline of Bedknobs and Broomsticks. We've moved this to America. I want to make Professor Emilius Brown a California movie man liar, and that gets us like a different area to play with as well. But there's two things, and this occult thing can actually work in your favor. And we're going to take a quick break here so you have a moment to think about it and develop any pitch as we take our coffee break real quick.
I just need to find the era.
That's right.
Sorry. Sorry.
I'm going to give you a break. It's cool. I feel like I scold you a lot. I'm sorry.
I just found it. That's okay. I require scolding.
I don't want people listening to this going like, TC's so mean to Jim.
If it wasn't for you, there were like a podcast led by me would have huge gaps of silence as I'm thinking, and I wouldn't edit them out because it adds realism.
There's two things I want to think about when we come back from the break, and I think we can maintain the skeleton of Bedknobs and Broomsticks. There's two things I want to bolster that'll actually expand the movie a little bit. One is the old man that they get the other side of the book from. He is an antagonist for all of 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. You're suggesting that Professor Brown might have some ties to some forerunners of the occult. Let's make them,
or if not Brown, him,
or him. Yeah,
the villain guy.
That is an obstacle that I want to expand upon. Is that whatever Professor Brown is mixed up with, wherever the other half of the book is, that is a whole subplot that we're going to be able to play with.
I mean,
you don't have to.
I already have things for that, so we'll save that.
Yeah, and secondly is in the original, very briefly, Roddy McDowall is minorly.
What a waste of Roddy McDowall.
Like a minor antagonist. I think having a priest-like character who is very much a descendant of the I hate witches era
of the witch hunters.
Yes, that I'm not saying we go full on Van Helsing here, but having an antagonist for Miss Price and having an antagonist for Professor Brown bolsters the movie's action set pieces, basically. That we have, that she can use magic to because Roddy McDowall is an antagonist for like
actually
barely.
That alone right there, just that, making those antagonists bigger. We never mind. We're trying to stop. Let's stop.
That's okay. Hold your thought. We're just going to take a quick break here, and we'll come right back and just plow right into it.
Okay.
Okay.
Psst, hey you. Come over here.
Who, me?
Yeah, you.
Okay.
Hey, do you like Zelda?
Yeah, I like Zelda. Who doesn't?
Oh, yeah? You like video games?
Yeah, I dabble. I play them, yeah.
Yeah. Do you like listening to people talk about video games?
Of course I like listening to people. Who reads anymore?
Well, buddy, do I got a podcast for you. It's called Fan Fiction, with an X.
Oh.
And you can find it on all your major podcast distributors.
That sounds amazing.
Oh, buddy, you have no idea.
One question, though. Why are you in my room?
Yes.
We hugged it out.
We did.
It was good. Just paced the room, huffing and puffing. So, bolstering out the antagonists, we can, like I said, we can maintain the skeleton of Bedknobs and Broomsticks. We're now in the South. We're in Virginia. We're visiting California.
Because I know much more about the occultism from those things, I can kind of tie it in and, make it kid-friendly.
Yeah.
Kind of. Maybe that's not worth doing.
No. Kid-friendly's fine. That's fine.
But, I actually think that is changing the thing enough that the notion of a remake, leaving it all in England, would be okay. I'm okay with continuing by Americanizing it. All the Brits will hate that. But this
is not Mary Poppins. I like this movie, and I know that there's an audience for it. But in general, this is a cult film, and I don't think it has enough of a following that if we Americanize it, yes, there will be detractors who are like, how dare you take this British story?
Sure. I guess and it's fine. It's fine making her an American witch as opposed to a British witch. But now, what you've suggested by building out these antagonists, that alone is going to put so much more into the movie.
Yeah.
And I love it so much.
Go ahead.
Right. So now
You're
the
shaking.
problem with the Pasadena occultism is it was largely like sex cult occultism.
That's for the
like
adults
that was
to
a
understand.
big part of it and stuff. But if I remember, sex magic. They did a lot of sex magic, lots of drugs, stuff like that. So having Professor Brown be related to that seems, I guess we can make it family friendly. Like it's just magic.
That's why I'm suggesting that he isn't directly like he stole the book or he was involved with like he had some like partner in
The
crime.
nature of that character, taking away the family element of this movie, that character would be involved in weird stuff like
yes,
that.
and I think he still can be. This
yeah.
can all be subtle.
Oh,
Like,
I thought you were saying he wasn't actually a part of it. He just took
no.
the book.
I'm saying he was a part of it and escaped. Like he's
Sure.
in the Hollywood system. We can just totally
Yeah.
play up the gag that Hollywood is full of deviant
Bunch of
sex
weirdos.
cultists,
Yeah.
heathenistic Satan sex cultists, and find the PG way to do that.
Yeah.
I definitely think
like
it's
that,
in there.
I like that, and that's not actually where the villain is from. That villain actually, he doesn't have to be there. He is actually a Nazi. Because
Project
the
Paperclip
Nazi,
kind of
because
thing,
the
or-
Nazis, no, because that came after the war.
Okay. He's actually
He is one of the Nazi. He's one of the officers who was searching the globe for occult relics. So he has half this book. That's why he's chasing the other half of the book, because there were Nazis that were like Raiders of the Lost Ark. I just want to stop saying the word Nazi.
evil Germans.
Yes. And so that's who he is, and that's where his ties are. It's not just greed. It's greed and
The weapon.
evil.
Right.
Yeah.
And that sort of plays similar to what the old man does in. He wanted the spell for his own nefarious means. He was willing to kill a child for it. So.
Yeah, but it really did just seem like criminal greed, and it didn't have a larger thing. And I'm saying make it larger. Like there are actual full war implications here.
Yes.
If he gets this book, it will help the enemy.
Okay. I got an idea here, just to like help build out this.
Sure.
Because Professor Brown stole his half of the book and used it to like send his spells to Miss Price. Let's say he sent the actual pages. So Brown doesn't even have the book anymore. He literally mailed it away to her. Like he sent correspondence out. Like he dissected the book. He's not in possession with it anymore. So he so that if the guy tracks him down and is like, Emilius, where's my book? He's like, it's gone. It's been scanned.
I don't think that's necessary. Essentially, that writes Professor Brown out of the thing.
Okay.
He totally has it. He's on the run. He is run from Europe, where he stole a portion of this book, and he's now in America plying his shyster trade
in Hollywood,
in Hollywood
Yeah.
amongst people who are interested in that kind of thing. But then it just so happens that someone across the country is taking his basically he just rewrites pages,
his correspondence
sends them
course.
to her.
Yeah. Okay.
And so that's why they take the bed to Hollywood to meet him, where at the last minute they run into nefarious, dark-coded agents who are trying to get them. So they then take the bed. Like they're like, well, where did you get the other half of this book? Oh, I got it back in Germany or London
wherever
or
the
France
Isle
or
of Naboombu is.
No, not even there yet. Because now they take the bed to get out of California, away from these people trying to get them. They bed-a-port, telebed, wherever the other half of the book is, wherever Brown had gotten it. We come up with wherever he had stolen it from. He explains to them, no, I got this. There's this other dude. Ripped the book apart. This is the half I got, the other half he got.
I know where it is.
Where was that, Brown?
Argentina.
It was Argentina. Why Argentina?
Because that's where all the Nazis fled after World War II.
After.
But
this is before.
I know it's before, but I'm
Sure,
connecting it to the grander world history.
Okay. Sure. Argentina.
Yeah.
So they go there, which is where our guy is. and then he's like, "What are you doing here?" He's like, "Give us your half of the book." And the Nazi fight.
Nazi fight. Escape to.
Escape to Nazi fight?
No, escape to the
and
island.
then
cartoon island.
from there they escape to Nabumbu, where they're like, "We've never met a man before. Well, you gotta join the world at some point, because otherwise it's gonna pass you up." And then Wonder Woman is in the story.
Wait, what? No.
No.
That's the mascara.
Oh shoot. Well, yeah. So they go to Nabumbu, whether it's to get the Star of Astaroth or not.
Well remembered.
Thank you. I thought it would, because I looked up some of the little bits of occult that they had in there, and those are actually things. I thought that was interesting.
That's nice. Yeah.
I guess that could still be there, and they could get that to finish their spell or whatever.
They go through the whole sequence of if it's a Polynesian, like if they're going from South America to some sort of Polynesian island, they could be, or we could move it to Central America. Basically, like we need the animated sequence. However we animate it, TBD. It doesn't have to be 2D like I want.
You know what? Thinking about it, I don't. There might be something cool and mystical in Argentina. I suppose. I don't know enough about Argentina.
I just picked Argentina because that's where there's already a connection to World War II. I know it's post.
What do you think about putting him in the Middle East, intimating that he is actually searching for the Lost Ark?
Oh sure.
Even throwing Dr. Jones in the background. We never say him by name.
I would
nothing like that.
For sure. Yeah. If there's some element here that people are like, oh, I love the Indiana Jones reference, I'd feel proud. I'd be
sure.
Like, you're damn right. Sure. Throwing it into Egypt or.
So now we've gone from Virginia to California to Egypt, or just the Middle East.
Yeah.
To a tropical island.
Yeah. It's a proper globe-trotting adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then back to
Virginia?
Back to Virginia, where they lose the star can't transcend, like can't teleport to our world. Because that's what happens on the star when they get there. It disappears because they left.
I forgot about that element.
The mystical island of Nabumbu.
Losing.
Could Nabumbu be Atlantis?
Sure.
Okay.
So it's underwater. It's like a bubble. It's a bubble at the bottom of the ocean.
Under the sea.
Then we can't have the two sequences where they land in the water and then get pulled up to the
bobbing
island.
along at the bottom of the. Well, whatever the case, the magical island. Do we do another soccer sequence? Do we just like make a new version of that? Do they play some form of like lacrosse? Some other sporting type event? An American Ninja Warrior. Professor Brown just stumbles his way through.
It could still be soccer. It's still a worldly sport. It's the sport that was played.
The sport of kings. They play cricket.
Yeah.
Billiards. They play billiards.
I would like there to be a reason, like if we could tie it to something. I realize that the way they did it is, oh look, it's all the aggressive one. It's a team of very aggressive people, versus a team of shaky pacifist. They just want to kick a ball, people. But I don't know to what end, other than just you don't cheer for angry people and you cheer for nice people.
Really, you don't cheer for either of them. They all trampled Professor Brown, and it was all
That's
just
true.
a matter of getting that damn star.
Also, right? Well, it's slapstick, and also he kind of deserved it. He was a con man. With that, I would like to do something that is indicative of some kind of meaning, whether it's like somehow connecting it to the war, like the king and his team are somehow in like play up the notion that he's a tyrant, because I think that was supposed to be the idea, is he was a tyrant.
Yeah.
So play that up.
It could be polo, like it could be. Like, because then you got mallets to swing around and hit people, and riding horses. I guess you can't have animals riding horses. Maybe they're riding some sort of like machinery. Oh, anthropomorphic. They've used the spell to bring machinery to life that they ride. They're basically playing some form of polo, and just trying to kind of like connect it to imperialism and and the encroachment of British ideals into a land that wasn't theirs, and now we're playing the
So
sport.
we're going to do a World War II. We're going to do a World War II movie and have anti-British sentiment.
Hey, this is an American movie, fella.
I'm not sure. I'm not
Okay.
sure there. But so they lose the MacGuffin. I don't know how I feel about this. Is that common? Every time it happens in a movie and I don't like it, I very much remember it and think it's terrible, but it probably happens.
Did it bother you that
in
the star
movies.
got lost in Bedknobs and Broomsticks?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. It felt a little like, well, why do we, like, for example, we talked about Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah.
And they lost the book in there, and you were like, whoa, I forgot entirely about that
I
thing.
actually
and,
did
and
completely forget the book's existence in the movie.
In which case, why was it even, like, why even have that entire motivation if we didn't get to see this thing even start to work a little bit? It's like it's almost like a reverse MacGuffin, or it's still a MacGuffin. It's just sort of a anti-MacGuffin.
Well, the spell is there the whole time. They never even needed the side quest to begin with, and all the side quest does is help Professor Brown sort of have his character arc. Like, he has his growth in caring about these people, and the spell. If they just listened to Charlie the whole time, or no, it was the little boy had it. The little.
Douglas. I'm naming him Douglas. It wasn't Charlie. Charlie was
Charlie
was the oldest kid, and he was a jerk.
Paul had
Paul,
it.
then.
And then they just should just listen to the kid in the first place. He had the spell. But before we go post Naboombu and move into the third sequence, what would it say? It's California. Getting there is essentially the Portobello Road situation.
Yeah.
And then Egypt is the basement sequence where you face that. Building that out so that there's actually a fight that involves magic. Now I'm not talking a full-on Voldemort versus Dumbledore situation, but a little more to that escape, I think, would make this movie a bit more exciting and fun if Miss Price is using spells to kind of fend off this evil German who also already knows magic as well. We have a magic versus magic fight. And that Professor Brown is using his he's like Chris Pine should play this. He's basically punching people, and Charlie, Paul, and Carrie are involved in the fight in their own ways as well. Just making it a little more raising the stakes a little bit, that they don't just get on a bed and like, peace out, we're going to the island of Naboombu.
Yeah.
Do we fully defeat our evil German then and there, and that's the end of him? I'm okay if it is. I'm just saying.
Henchman there. No. In fact, actually, that's another reason I want to. This could be a reason to even more so play up the tyranny of the Lion King, not that Lion King. This other King Lion.
Yes.
Maybe our Nazi wizard actually is able to follow them, because he's curious about all these things as well. So he goes there, and so one of the ways that they escape is because the Nazis and the animal people are fighting. Like they begin fighting over stuff.
If that's the case, would the attack on Virginia at the end of the movie be led by our evil wizard?
Probably.
And it could be that the book is that, like, we know where Professor Brown sent everything. We know where Miss Price is. That's what we're going to attack. We're going to go there.
Yes.
Perfect.
Or they learn that that's where she is.
If they go back to Professor
also,
Brown's,
they are able to get the star, the MacGuffin, out of Naboombu.
Okay.
The logic for why that happened, I don't remember it too well, and it also just, I don't know, like, if it was this magical thing that could do all this stuff, but it had to stay there, why was it so written about? I don't know. It just didn't. I realized it's the same thing with the Holy Grail in Indiana Jones, but it just felt weird to me. Like, why is it like all this and no, it's just lost. So instead, sorry, there's a long way to say that. They do bring it back, and the spell starts to work, and that's where Roddy
Our priest,
Dowell,
our
or
evil priest.
the witch hunter,
Yeah.
comes in. The witch hunter destroys it.
Oh,
before
yes.
they're able
yes.
to
I like
complete it.
Yes, that's great.
And that sets them back in this final battle against these Nazis.
When the evil Germans
charging
show
them.
up, yeah. When the evil German wizard shows up to be like, "I've come for the star, and I will destroy you and destroy everything.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna win this war." And they're attacking on the shore, and it's and so now we connect the dot. There's some dominoes to fall into place here, but essentially we have to get Miss Price to perform the spell. Is it going to be in the kid's book? Does Paul have it still, and that's what it comes down to, or is there some other means of being like if it's a
Yeah, that could be fun.
They all work together. Everyone remembers one of the words. I don't know, something like that.
Sure, yes, something like I'm good with any or all of those.
And then we have our
Or could we do like a reverse Raiders of the Lost Ark, where one of our heroes gets the star embedded in their hand?
I would much rather go with the kid has the answer, the magic spell the whole time.
Okay.
Than burning someone's hand. Because if we're going to burn anyone in this scenario, it's just going to be Emilius. That Professor Brown's just getting his butt kicked through this whole thing.
Kids like butt jokes. Maybe he got burned into his butt.
No, get out of here. We're not doing a mid-2000s Disney movie. We're not doing a current DreamWorks movie.
Yeah, we're not doing a DreamWorks movie.
I really like that we've created a villain that sort of comes in a little bit midway, but then just like takes us all the way to the end here.
Well, so the other villain that we didn't do, we sort of the movie didn't make Roddy Dowell a villain, but I want him to be more than just the beginning that helps chase off Miss Price, and then at the end shows up. Well, also when he destroys it, I think what should happen is, because he's there as this is happening, and he's like, I must stop the witches, and he does, and he's like, oh no, I have to help fight the Nazis, and so now he's on the same side. So by the end of it, like during it, he's all like, okay, we're gonna put aside our differences to fight these guys off. I'm gonna turn a blind eye to what you're gonna do for like the next 10 minutes,
but I don't approve.
Yeah,
God help me.
And so then at the end, he's all like, okay. You did a good here, you devil worshiper. So I'm gonna give you a 20-minute head start. I know, but essentially, a truce is called. At the end of it, something like that. That's sort of the resolution to that character.
Sure.
I think that I'd like to go for.
Especially if we introduce him early as someone who is already antagonistic to her. Like, I suspect. I don't trust you. I don't know what this museum is. I like just like a presence of like threatening.
A lot of strange things and strange lights in this area.
Yeah, if I get the right warrants or whatever, I'm coming after you. I need one reason, or just this looming threat, local threat.
Yeah, that
comes back into play for the finale. I like that. That especially that blind eye and like coming to a truce and like, you really are a witch.
But I guess how much of a witch hunter do we want to make him? Is he just local? Is he just a villain local to this area, or is he also chasing our heroes? Does he also show up other places?
I would not want to send him along his way. I'll put this in here. I think that if there was a spin-off movie, it would be about this guy. But he's only local. That he's a Christian witch hunter legacy character. Like, my grandfather burned witches at Salem. That's not something to be proud of.
Well, then I think I want to introduce another element here.
Okay.
They need to keep coming back.
So
they don't just go Virginia, California, Egypt, Virginia. They go Virginia, California, Virginia, Egypt, Virginia.
They keep coming.
Sorry. Yeah, basically they need to keep hopping back.
They waypoint it.
Yeah, and so that way, one of the jokes, one of the things we can keep doing is he's there. He's trying to catch them. He knows something's happening. There's all of these weird magic things happening, and he keeps trying to catch them, and they keep popping out before he can.
I want to make a casting suggestion for this character, and it's a silly. I was just imagining Kevin Hart trying to stop these people, And just the
Okay.
because you just create this
Okay.
buffoon, like this fool who keeps getting this close to like, I'm gonna catch you, I'm gonna catch, and like I don't know, for some reason Kevin Hart's flashed into my head and watching him, yeah, there you go. That's
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that works.
So then, oh man, this is fun. I think I like all these changes we've made. The last little things I want to touch on here.
I needed to look at things. So when you said Kevin Hart, I initially imagined Kevin James,
No, no, I'm talking
and then you started doing the impression. I'm like, that's not Kevin James, and I was like, oh, Kevin Hart. But now I'm imagining Kevin Hart as Professor Brown, and just seeing. I think he would be in for being trampled by cartoon animals.
Yeah, he would be.
Or,
I mean, Kevin Hart has an awesome sense of humor when you look at stuff like the Jumanji movies, and basically everything he puts himself through films is.
No. Kevin Hart would still be.
You're imagining Kevin James
as the.
I say
Brown.
this with
You don't want to make a Kevin James vehicle?
You beat me to it. I with all due respect to the man who does have his good stuff, like his YouTube channel's hilarious, but I don't know if I want to make a Kevin James vehicle. I'm sorry to say.
You have no respect for the King of Queens.
The thing I want to I actually do. Oh no, I think I know who our Miss Price should be. I'll get to it in a second. The kids. So we have Charlie, Paul, and Carrie.
Mm-hmm.
They're very cute in the movie. Charlie has the most personality because he's a prick.
Yes.
And Carrie's sweet and all, but she's very little involvement or agency in it. And Paul's great too, but he just is sort of the solution in the end of like, I had the spell the whole time. I'd like to build up Carrie and Paul specifically.
They're kind of a variation of the I've forgotten their names. Their last name. The Peter Pan kid.
The Darlings.
The Darling
Darlings,
children.
yeah. I would like to see them more involved. So, for example, if Carrie has an instant interest in the magic, or no, let's say Paul has interest in the magic and is trying to learn spells too throughout. It makes sense that he's the one who has the winning spell in the end, because he's like the whole movie. He's like he wants to do spells and he just fails at them. He can't like pronounce the words or whatnot, and then he's like, I know the spell. I know the spell. It's like, and then he says it perfectly. It's like, how did you know that? It's because it was written right here. Like, just trying to build up his character a little bit more.
Sure.
Or Carrie is interested in the spells while Paul is just interested in the books. Like, what's something we can do with these kids to give them more to do in this movie as opposed to just being along for the ride?
Okay.
Because I think Charlie as the skeptic the whole time still works perfectly. Like a little bratty kid who's like, well, I guess he wouldn't be British, but
my initial thought was to make Charlie actually interested in Professor Brown and the con, like he.
Oh yeah,
like he takes an interest, kind of like.
I like that.
In
I like
so
that.
There's maybe probably a sequence in Egypt where he does something Brown did earlier to like misdirect the people.
That
the bad guys.
He's already developing a con man. Yeah, I like that a lot.
Or that could actually what was her name?
Carrie is the girl.
Carrie.
Yeah.
That could actually be Carrie if we want to keep Charlie the cross-armed cynic that he is in the original.
Yeah.
And then Paul.
So Carrie is already like the reason this family 3 unit has survived is because she's pickpocketing people. As far
as pickpocketing goes, I was going to make that Paul, right? Because he's the one, at least in the original, he's the one who carries the knob. And
he has all that.
Basically, he just picks something up everywhere they go. So his pockets, his jacket, is just full of stuff.
Okay.
Like there could even be a thing when they leave Naboombu, they're like, "Oh, we lost the star." He's like, "Nope, it's right here."
Got it right here. Yeah, I like that. That he's constantly stealing stuff. I think that's fun. So what would you do with Carrie? That is she interested in the con?
If she's the one who's interested in the con, I mean, that doesn't really. I guess the arc then for Charlie is he goes from being this basically he's not a tween anymore.
Yeah.
He's an actual teen. He's like 13 or something, and he is just not about this magic. He does not believe any of this is happening.
He's at the age of not believing.
By the end of it, he's won back his innocence. if you will, like he's like, I'm a believer.
Don't
Sing.
don't do it.
No,
No.
Yep.
No.
Yes.
Oh my God, should Eddie Murphy be Professor Brown?
Sure. Yeah.
No. Okay. Yeah, I like that. That keep Charlie the skeptic. Carrie is the con, like she's the con, and Paul is the pickpocket, and that's how these three have survived. Their dad abandoned them. Like I'd even go so far. He went to war. He left them behind.
He went to war, and their mother their mother dies.
She died when they were younger.
I was gonna see. I feel like if she dies when they were younger, and he goes to war, I feel like there would have been a different. I think like I don't know why in my mind there would have been a plan when the father leaves for war. If it's their father leaves and then their mother dies, they had expected the mother to support them.
Okay.
She's gone.
Okay.
Nowhere for the children to go.
And she sends them to her great aunt or whatever.
Yeah.
Or not? No. I don't want it to be the great aunt because I actually have a casting option for Miss Price here.
Okay.
It would be her cousin, like a distant cousin.
Well, they're about to. Their mother dies, and the mayor, I don't know, something, is about to send them. Like, we're going to send you to the New York Orphanarium.
Yeah.
And they're all like, nah, that's not for us. So they, quote unquote, run away. The best place to hide, the best place these kids can think of to hide is no one goes to the old witch's house. Let's go hide there.
Oh, okay. You're suggesting no.
No?
I don't want. I hate to squash that from you.
That's okay.
I think I like the idea that the father goes off to war, the mother passes away. I think the mother should send them to her cousin to live with, like a cousin she hasn't even spoken with in the long ages, but is trusting. It's her only living family relative, only living relative. These kids don't want to be there. Similar to what we get in the original, and I don't want to make them from the town. I want to make them coming from far away, so that they're much more displaced, and
I see.
And it gives them a bit less connection. Like they have no one. If they're in a town of people, they're gonna have friends. They're gonna have their neighbors that they could go to, and it's too easy for them to, like.
So you want a series of unfortunate events them.
Yeah, and in the book Bedknobs and Broomsticks, they take the bed without Miss Price, and the thing they do is they go to the front line looking for their dad. They take the bed to go look for
That's
their
an
father.
awesome scene. I want that scene.
And they're determined to reunite with their father, and so making them from the town of Miss Price that they know it's too familiar. We want to take them far away. You're right. Let me sneak at them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're being sent to their cousin, their mom's cousin, and I want to suggest Ariana DeBose, who won the Oscar for West Side Story. She played Anita.
Okay.
You're looking at me because you have no clue who I'm talking
Correct,
about.
yeah.
Anyone who saw West Side Story knows that she stole the movie as Anita. She's amazing. She started her career in Hamilton as the Bullet.
Okay.
She is go watch Hamilton on Disney Plus.
The Bullet's not a person. The Bullet was a bullet.
She's in the whole movie as the Bullet.
As the Bullet?
She is awesome. She just oozes charisma. She can sing her ass off. She can dance. She's beautiful. She's perfect. I think she'd be an incredible Miss Price. She's 32 years old. She's just I think she'd be awesome for this character.
Okay.
So you're like, I don't know who this is, but that is my pitch for a new Miss Price.
Okay.
Being in the South, I think there's just so much we can now build the cast out from her. Cast three kids that we can't name right now, and then no, it's not going to be Kevin James as
I know you won't give that to me. It's the best casting we've ever done on this show, and you've quashed it. So,
but unfortunately I don't have an alternative for.
So it's Kevin James.
No. I said it earlier because you joked about Themyscira, and I'm like, should Chris Pine? Chris Pine could totally do this part.
Well, okay, so here's the thing. That's unfair because Chris Pine can do. He can do anything. There's very few roles Chris Pine would not be good for, honestly.
He can sing. He played one of the princes in Into the Woods. He
Sure.
can play this kind of guy. He can do the comedy. He can do the sweetness of it.
I mean, you've taken the one casting I really wanted, so yeah, fine. Have your Chris Pine.
Kevin James can be the witch hunter.
No!
He can be the mayor.
You already made Kevin Hart the witch hunter. Oh, great, you're giving him this... No!
He can be the
no,
evil
no.
German.
If Kevin James is not a lead character, he is no one.
Jim is packing up his stuff to leave the room. I didn't realize you had such a...
Yes, I am!
Get back here. Get back here. You have a job to do, sir. Who should be our evil...
The studio demands Kevin James.
You know what? We'll do a Kevin James, gosh darn it.
No, it's fine. I was imagining the recreating the soccer scene where he gets trampled, and I think Kevin James would nail all of the slapstick comedy that character has to do. And actually, I think the idea of him being a con man, like thinking about him conning people or stealing things, like it's a lot of fun to me.
Kevin James?
Yeah.
I'm carrying the weight.
It doesn't have to be because
I'm carrying the weight of Happy Madison on my shoulders right now, and I'm like,
fair. That's fine.
I'm sorry to I won't commit one way or another to our casting. We've narrowed the casting choices down to two people who probably compete for roles all the time.
Yeah, all the time. Yep. They're good friends from meeting in the casting hall.
Yeah, they're
waiting
always
to go into audition.
Oh, hey,
because they both
Chris,
have to still go to auditions and.
Now, the likelihood that Kevin James ever catches wind of this, Mr. James,
higher than Chris Pine.
Please. You're right. I'd love on his YouTube channel to see him do like inserting himself into Chris Pine roles now, like Kevin James in Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Seriously,
actually,
if you want a
you're
good
right,
laugh,
that would be a lot of fun.
If you want a good laugh, please go check out Kevin James' YouTube channel. It's honestly very over COVID. He created a sound guy character and inserted himself into famous scenes for movies. It's very, very amusing.
It is very good.
But I'm still fighting you. I think Chris Pine would be a better choice.
Okay.
He would sell more tickets.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Who's our evil German? We don't have to cast it. That like it's not necessary. I'm like, oh, Mads Mikkelsen.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Mads Mikkelsen in a family movie would be a bunch of fun.
He's in Doctor Strange.
You consider that a family movie?
No, I mean all Marvel movies are family movies.
It's
more
true.
way. What's the family? Okay, so I think by the moving the location, jumping around the globe, I like the idea of returning back to the estate.
Flea.
Flea?
Yeah.
As the evil German?
Yeah.
Really?
First of all, he played an evil German in The Big Lebowski.
He was a nihilist.
He was. And then seeing him recently in Babylon, he is aged enough. Like he doesn't look he's not geriatric, so it wouldn't be like Hitler's sending this dude on clandestine missions, but he's also seasoned enough that like you would think this dude is in charge of a bunch of Nazis. And I like he has a Slugworth look to him.
He does.
That's kind of who he played in Babylon.
That's funny. I never would have gone there. Yeah. You made me. Peter Stormare came to mind when you evoked The Big Lebowski, but he's Russian. He's not Jewish.
Well, that's fine. He doesn't want to play stereotypes, so it could be Peter Stormare.
Yeah. No, I like Flea's an interesting choice. Nice, weird choice, Jim.
Thank you.
But I think switching locations. I like your idea of returning to the mansion every time they have to like. We could make that work just to keep the nearly got him happening again and again. We still get our final battle.
Like that's easy enough to explain. Like, oh, the spell has to rubber band. You need to return from whence you came before going elsewhere.
We can create a real simple contrivance like that for why they keep going back. The action set pieces change, like a magic fight between Flea and Miss Price in California.
He's not there.
But in California, we would have some sort of sequence that would require some running and some flame, maybe a car chase scenario.
Oh yeah.
in the midst of visual effects.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's Professor Brown's like time to shine, as he's using all of his like stunt. Although that's funny to have him using it during the finale as well. Everybody using their skills, giving the kids a little extra traits of to develop their arcs. Yeah, I think we came up with a really cool new Bedknobs and Broomsticks.
I think
I
we
like
did.
this,
What
yeah.
was that? What was the title?
Dead Knobs and Bloodsticks. Or were you going to
No,
make...
I was making fun of the way you stuttered.
Bedknobs and Broomsticks.
Bedmobs and Broomsticks.
Randall Savage
Randall
and
Savage and Buster Gold.
Buster Gold. That is an off-mic callback.
That is.
Jim has said his favorite, just for listeners who aren't aware, his favorite DC hero is Buster Gold, and his favorite DC villain is Randall Savage.
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, exactly.
I'm going to take over time. Oh, yeah. There's nothing you can do about it.
Anyway, let me just recheck the demand here, but I think I'm glad we were given the window if we don't have to do it in World War II, but it was our choice. So Kev, is that right? Let me make sure I said it. Yeah, Kev Amir, how'd we do? I think I feel good about this. It took us a while to get there, but once it started going, we like snowballed into something really cool here.
I do feel a little bad removing it entirely from England. So maybe it doesn't have to be in Egypt. Maybe it can be on Portobello Road that they found the book and fought over it.
Yeah, maybe. I don't have any.
Egypt is a more stunning, different look. Well, maybe not that different from Pasadena. No, I don't know.
I'm not. I unless someone wants to make a massive objection to us in the comments, I think we're fine moving this to America.
No, in the largest font you can.
Hey, you know what? Professor Brown can be British. To maintain an element of.
Chris Pine can't do a British accent.
We don't know that. I thought you said Chris Pine could do anything.
Except a British accent.
You know-
I said that in fine print.
You know who could do the British accent?
Who's that?
Kevin James.
Yep.
All right, so I'm going to wrap up the episode here. I would love to know if we met the demand, and so please, Kevin Mir, if you think we got it, the other listeners, what did we miss? What works? What doesn't? Is there anything in here that we need to expand upon?
So we didn't actually. I just remembered a part of the demand. We didn't talk about it. Are you just assuming all the cartoon sequences that were cartoons in the original are cartoons in this new one?
Just yeah. We go to the island. That's the cartoon sequence.
Okay.
What? Why are you sad?
I think it would be really cool to see those in modern day realistic CG.
Let's.
So I was initially trying to find a different place to put a cartoon.
Like 2D. Okay. Okay. I'll give you a sequence right now. I just thought of it.
Okay.
When we have the escape sequence in California, they through magic escape through a cartoon. I'm not saying they go full Toontown. I'm saying they literally jump into a movie screen to flee through a section.
Okay.
So then, does that give you?
That's right, and it wouldn't just be the end to a chase scene. Like it would be a whole scene
In the midst of this, like it's a segment of the chase sequence.
I like that. I think that's fun.
Yeah.
I like that. That satisfies me. If the studio really wants Naboombu to be a cartoon, I am willing to give that up.
But you want the line.
I won't stand my ground on that.
You want the Jon Favreau animation, the Avatar level of CG for the animals on the island. Okay.
Yeah. I think that would make it more fun, more exotic, and visual feast.
I disagree, but that's fine. We can disagree on the island of Naboombu right now.
Okay.
We don't have to make that decision.
Okay.
You can message us directly at studiodemandsit.com on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at Studio Demands It. If you're not already, you can subscribe to us on any platform that you listen to your podcasts on. And please, if you feel so inclined, you can give us a 5-star review right there in the app. It really helps us get the show out into the algorithm, and we appreciate those who have. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
You can also find us on YouTube and TikTok, where we are posting video content this year, including materials not heard here on the show. You can find me at TC's Big Head on Twitter. You can find Jim at Studio Demands It on Twitter.
Yes.
Or through me. And as I mentioned earlier, we do have a Patreon now. If you'd like to throw a couple bucks at us, you get extended episodes, you get episodes early, and you get movie commentary tracks. So that's cool. Yes, isn't it, Jim?
It is.
Massive thank you to 6.5 Media for everything they do. Please check out the other 6.5 shows. If you go to studiodemands.com, scroll down to the bottom there, there's all the shows right there. But, Jim, I think that does it for this episode.
I think it does.
You're eyeing the dog over here.
Yeah.
She had a little...
Yeah, she's dreaming.
Okay, she had a little running fit in her.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, I'm going to get that cat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yes, any final thoughts as we wrap up here? Usually take that time to think of things you want to say.
I do normally, not today.
Okay.
Yeah, I had a good time.
Yeah. So bum fuzzle.
Right back to that.
Gardy Lou.
Yeah.
Taradiddle. What does that mean?
Taradiddle is a diddle to the like 100,000th power.
Did you just make that up?
Yeah.
That is not the correct answer, but I'll give it to you. So hashtag Taradiddle, everybody.
A taradiddle is 1,000 gigadiddles. Which are 1,000 megadiddles, which are 1,000 kilodiddles, which is 1,000 diddles.